What was on TV?
On TV was the precursor to HBO.
Oh, okay.
HBO ended up buying them, and then they went away. But On TV was like the first one we had where I grew up in Fontana.
Right.
And that was in, I want to say.
80? I want to say it was like
Maybe
79,
before that,
maybe
yeah.
79.
Okay, yeah, just right before then, because I think
Yeah.
HBO happens in like 81 or something like that. Or 80,
it was something like that. So they would show, it was like maybe 3 movies a day.
Sure.
I think. And then in between the movies, they would play a music video or something, you know, some short or something.
The Rose was always playing. I remember
Bette Midler?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
over and over. That's the first time you started seeing multiple play of stuff. Like that wasn't TV. That wasn't a TV
they
thing.
had like a monthly thing of, you know, maybe 10 or 15, 12 movies, something like that. So,
Sure.
you know, Scanners was always on.
yeah.
And,
Scanners. I remember that being a thing.
The VHS box of Scanners scared the fuck out of me as a kid. I'm not even kidding. Hold on a second. So I wanted to say, hey, everybody, this is the Show Buddies podcast. I'm sitting here with Bob and Lisa from the BellRays, and we're just chilling, talking.
We are.
And learning about On TV.
On TV.
Pretty, you know, in this day and age, like, I mean, it's like
early
going
age
from
of
that.
cable.
Yeah, like going from that to what the fuck we have now is
Right.
like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, man.
Right.
But I'll tell you, the one thing about On TV is they would have these
I know exactly
15, 20-minute workout videos.
Oh, God.
with the 3 girls.
Sometimes there'd be
girls.
3, sometimes there'd be 1, sometimes it'd be 2.
No instruction.
And it was
just
a
music.
slowly rotating stage. And it was the hottest thing I've ever
It
seen.
was soft porn.
Well, yeah.
in my life.
In exercise.
So this is like the fucking that Demi Moore movie that just came out, The Substance.
It's
I
like
haven't seen it yet,
well,
but
it's the, you know, workout chicks.
Oh,
and it's
she's
like
supposed to be from that era.
Well, I mean, it's like that. I don't know if it might be updated, but it's that aesthetic.
Okay.
It's that same.
I'm super interested now.
Yeah. So, you guys both grow up California,
Yep.
right on.
Born and raised.
Both not quite L.A. area, but L.A. Or?
I was born in Los Angeles.
Born in Los Angeles.
And then we relocated to Riverside when I was 8.
Okay. What's the music in the household? What are you listening to? What?
Now or
No,
or
your folks, like what's happening like in the
Oh, Stevie Wonder, Muddy Waters. There was like a big cross section of what we would call a cross section now that was just music.
Yeah.
You know,
It's all
back
happening.
then. Yeah, it just had a lot of stuff. Earth, Wind and Fire, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sure. Happening.
My mom was Chris Christopherson and Batdorf and Rodney and Nielsen and then all the Beatles. She had all the original Beatles records and Creedence records.
Right.
And that's where I got into that. My dad was just a blues head. He had all the coolest.
Did you start
blues
playing
records.
guitar then, like or as a kid, or
No, it wasn't. I was like 13 when I started playing guitar.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of music were you going to? What was your first? What was your first show, Bob?
My first show that I
Concert?
played.
Concert? No, that you saw.
Oh, that I saw? Well, my mom took me to see Elton John at Dodger Stadium in 75, I think it
That's
was.
a fucking good year for that.
1975.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, I loved Elton John, so she took us kids to go, me and my cousin, to go see him. The first one I ever bought tickets to was Black Sabbath with the Ramones opening for him at the Swing Auditorium, where the Ramones lasted 2 songs.
I was going to say, were they received well? It is no.
They were shelled. They were shelled off the stage. I mean,
It's like people have to bring their own shit to throw at you
Yeah.
to be able to do that.
It's like, don't you want your shoe? Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Your
And-
keys, man. What are you doing?
I don't know where they were getting half the stuff they were throwing in there. It was, you know, it was one of those things where when you see the old Western reviews and people are throwing heads of lettuce, like, did you really bring a head of lettuce just on the off chance you might get to throw
There's
it?
just like this accidental pile of stones or something like that over here. Like, we're good. We got them. They suck. We know what to do. How about you, Lisa? What was your
First concert
shows?
I ever remember like going to. It was great. It was Fishbone at Redlands University.
Holy shit!
Yeah, and it was right before their record was released, the first Fishbone record. So it was like brand spanking new, and I just remember it being a mind blowing experience.
That
to
record
be-
kicks
And they're still
and
kicking
they
ass.
still are. They
man.
still are. But that's the one that I have no other recollection of being taken to a concert or being able to go to a concert before I was like 16. Because I couldn't go to any of the cool punk shows that everybody else was getting rides to go to and all that stuff.
Was that like your parents were like, no?
Oh, exactly. My parents were like, nope, nope, nope. I had a lot of younger siblings too, so it was like I was always on watch the kids duty.
Sure, I know that one. I've been seeing a lot of like these crazy documentaries on Tubi of like different scenes and whatnot. Did Riverside have a venue though, like a kind of a one of those just like classic punk dives that was consistent?
They had a couple of them.
Probably, yeah.
They had a couple of them. The big one that you got to see the shows, if it wasn't like a civic auditorium show, which they did have those, but they had a bar on the university campus called the Barn, where that's where I went.
Which is still going now.
Yeah,
Still going, like still doing shows and
Still doing
yeah,
shows.
it
That's
disappeared for a while, and they've had a really rocky relationship with the university itself. But they've, that was
They've
the venue.
sustained it.
But there were a few divey punk places that we all played, and
just like they come and go for yeah.
yeah, my
Spanky's was there for a hot minute. and I
Spanky's
thought
was
that
the
they
big
were
one,
really
yeah.
really cool for a bit, and then they just kind of. I mean, we have this at least the way that our civic area was always set up. They were constantly saying we want to be more like Pasadena and all these other places, but doing everything to just kill it.
Right.
So anytime that like you had a natural ebb and flow happening in a music scene or something really pushing it in the right direction.
anytime
Shut down.
anytime anybody started something in Riverside that like caught on and was cool, it immediately became a thing.
Call
Like,
the cops.
Yeah.
Kids are there's kids here. They're in groups. Oh no, what
There's
do we do?
activity.
Yeah,
They're
We want to
buying-
support the arts.
They're
Let's
buying coffee.
hand the money over to some rich white guys. Let's do that. They'll figure it out.
They have places and things happening that are getting reviews and write-ups in the LA magazines and stuff like that, and people are coming out to see what they are. Nirvana played at
Spanky's.
At Spanky's,
Spanky's, okay.
which was like a pizza joint, maybe twice the size of this room,
right.
where they had to move the salad bar for the band to play. Like,
But the salad
Nirvana
bar was
there.
literally still in the room when you watched
Oh,
the show.
yeah.
Yeah. And so stuff like that was happening, and man, they hassled that guy into oblivion.
Yeah.
The city did.
You guys were. I mean, that was so Nirvana. So like you guys were.
Oh, we were playing.
Oh, yeah.
We were
Oh, yeah.
we were one of the first bands to play at Spanky's.
Actually, yeah, I think we were
Okay.
the
I
second or
remember
third
that.
show. Yeah.
Yeah, and he used to have that special deal where he said, "It's three band, $3. Everybody gets $1. $3.
Well, I mean, if he did that, everybody. I mean, that's
It was.
that's-
That
I
didn't
guess
last
it's-
long.
No. all right.
Yeah.
Then you realize
Still not
you're
making
running
any
a
money.
club.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Then you realize you're running a club, and you're just like, but I could just take that money.
Yeah.
These bands don't expect to give money.
Yep,
Right.
yep, they're happy to have a place to play. What the fuck? All right.
That's it.
Oh man. So did you guys when you got to? I have it later on here, but the Rose Thorns, was that a?
That was the first one with Bob and I in it, but
Yeah.
Bob had done many bands before that, but the Rose Thorns is the first one with the two of us.
Were you always kind of in the garage and rock and roll thing, or did you
yeah.
do like a hardcore band or like?
No, it was always, like I said, the Beatles and Creed.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are the things I grew up listening to. So that's what we played, sort of. That's the songs that I wrote, and they were in that vein. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was just.
So you were honing that sound for a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
And then Rose Thorns, was that still kind of like?
Yeah, it had a hard rock tinge to it. It was more rock folk than
It was
folk
trying
rock.
to figure out what it was.
Sure.
Yeah. It needed a direction, and there were bands in the area that the initial people that I met doing original music. It was one guy was like, the Beatles meets XTC kind of band, and then the other guy was a hardcore punk band, and I played bass for both of them. I played guitar for one of them, so I kept pointing anytime I did a band. It's like, can we do something like that? Can we do something like that?
Right.
Let's be driving
picking the sound and like trying to mold it in your head.
Yeah. And
Right.
it wasn't until, Lisa came into the thing where it was just like, oh no, this needs to
it has to
we
find a
can't-
focal point.
Yeah.
We don't. A lot of bands don't realize. Well, not a lot of bands. A lot of people think that we get together and do music, and it's this totally democratic thing that you figure out together, and it's just
Not.
natural. It is not that.
No.
It is not that. You need somebody that's going to say, "Hey, this
The
is
asshole.
where we need to go."
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
As the asshole.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah, I'm familiar with
Right.
how it kind of goes, and it's. I mean, you want everybody to have voice,
Sure.
but it's
Well, at first you do,
yeah,
and then they start saying things,
well,
and then you're like, "Oh,
yeah,
I take that back."
yeah,
Yeah.
revoked.
Yeah. When the obvious point is when you start doing these bands, you start off with the first guys you have, and then they start dropping off. Then you get these new guys, and you realize, well, the first guys were here for like 4 years. You guys just started. We've been here for 4 years. What gives you an equal say?
Right.
And it's not in any mean spirited
It's
way.
not a mean spirit. It's just a natural ebb and flow of your
Yeah.
emotional bandwidth that's been invested into
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And you guys are the core, so I
And
mean that is
we know
that is-
what we started. We know what we started doing.
Yeah.
Who were the other bands in? I guess it would be the LA area, maybe even like the Loved Ones. Where you guys?
No, I don't remember them.
They were more San Francisco, but who else were you guys like? Kind of like
There was a lot of hair bands when we were.
yeah, I was
first
gonna say
starting.
like
Yeah.
what like LA was
It was super hair bandish and not really conducive to what we were anything that we were doing at the time.
It was-
anything with a black female fronting it was instantly, as soon as they saw that it was a black female fronting it. Oh, kind of like Tracy Chapman. Hey, nothing like Tracy
Yeah,
Chapman.
yeah.
How about listen to it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's. I thought about this question. I definitely wanted to ask it. I wasn't sure how I was going to word it, but I mean, which do you feel like do you encounter more? Is it racism or sexism in like being in rock?
Oh, there's enough to go around.
Yeah, I
for
mean, it's just a little
both
bit of
all the
everything.
time,
It's- yeah, okay.
Especially if you're. I mean, it's a little less now, and maybe it's just less because we go out less doing it. But I just remember, I'm doing everything that has to do with the administrative and advancing the shows and doing all that stuff with the band. But it was amazing how many times you go to a club and the guys just walk right past you to go talk to one of the other guys
Yeah.
in the band, and it's just like it was an assumption, and to be truthful, that it's been years since anything like that has popped up, but that was
Happened
it
probably,
was there all
yeah.
the time.
I still get it where, Lisa's been advancing the shows. She's been the one to contact everything. We get to the thing, we play the show. They talk about all the other stuff with her and everything, and then it comes to the money, and he says, "Here's the money." And I said, "No, you give it to Lisa." "Can I just give it to you?"
Nope.
Nope.
You give it to Lisa.
Nope.
You've done
No,
everything.
there's a money person
Yeah.
designated.
You've
You've done
Cycle.
everything with Lisa. Lisa's
The whole
Lisa's one.
cycle
Yeah.
is right there, and I don't know if that's just like, I don't even know if I can call that sexism or racism or just laziness.
Like lazy, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know which one to. And I've gotten to a point where I don't really hone in on whatever it means, because I really don't give a shit what somebody else thinks about me.
Of course, yeah.
It's not about that, but I do care that people do raunchy ass shit to other people.
Fucking A.
So
Yeah.
that's the stuff that bothers me about that kind of thinking. It isn't because they are, somehow shining something on making me feel. They have no control over how they make me feel by doing that. And maybe that's how I was just born, but it's one of those things that I think I look at it as a superpower that I just don't
Give a fuck, right?
I just don't.
It is a superpower. I'll fucking
Yeah.
tell you right now. That is a good one. It's a good.
Check the box for
Yeah.
the superpower.
So you guys were saying that you were at Coachella last weekend. Is that what you're
Last
saying?
weekend.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Feel the dust. Still here.
No, nobody put any Native American garb on you or anything like that.
No.
Fucking just like,
No,
Jesus.
no.
Can't believe it.
No.
It's so strange.
No.
How did that collaboration with Basement Jaxx happen?
So we were touring back in the early 2000s. We were touring with the BellRays in the UK, and we were doing quite a few shows, I think, and somehow got a lot of publicity. I don't know.
There's a
We
whole
got a lot of
story with that.
publicity.
Say it when you can get it, right?
And then you know, it kind of went away. But somehow they had heard, oh, they've got a singer that maybe you want to try a collaboration with. So that's literally how that came about, and I'm super fortunate because that whole thing paid for our daughter to go to college.
That's wild. That's so wild. I mean, that's beautiful.
That musicians get to pay for their kids to go.
Yeah, I mean,
I know.
That
I
is
know.
wow.
I know.
So it just the one song, you just come out and do it and knock it out.
It usually was, but this time they decided to do, because you have the way Coachella's set up. It's like, and the way that I think everybody looks at it is like, well, we got to go out there and we got to shoot our wad. Well, they're from the UK and they figured, okay, the songs that we think are hits there might not be hits here. So they did this whole thing where they said, well, we'll just do a Spotify check to see what's really popular here in the States. So they did that, and then they found out that the Susie Sue did a thing with them called Kish Cash back when I did the song with them as well. And I don't know if she's ever come out and done the song live ever, but they said we should probably do this song because it shows up as one of the ones to do. So I did that one at the show as well, which was pretty fun.
So Susie Sue did or did not come out?
She did not come out.
Because I saw that she's like they back out touring again, or so like.
Is she?
Yeah.
That's great. I didn't know that. That's
know.
wonderful.
Man, all I remember for me being a kid, all I remember is Peekaboo. And so going back and listening to the late 70s stuff, it was like mind fucking blown. Like, that stuff is harsh.
Right.
It's very, cool in a great way. Like this.
Right.
Yeah.
And a woman.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, this is the part of punk that's been rewritten that I don't know if the Punk Rock Museum is going to get it right. Because that's such an OC point of view. It doesn't mean it's all got to be that way, but it was a very feminine. It was, the idea, there was so much feminine influence in the punk scene.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people of color that were influencing stuff that somehow, once the 90s came around, everything's white. Full of guys. And that's not an accurate description of what was still even going on then.
Well, it's like Lydia Lunch gets a room, right?
Right.
What the fuck?
Right.
I mean, that's going to be a weird room. But
it's going to be a weird room, but it should be.
Yes.
If we're going to go and honor any of these other people, and it doesn't take away from anybody else, but it's just, that's when you start kind of looking at, what kind of scope was somebody looking at to say this is what we're gonna have pop out around
as we create education, it's interesting. Like it's always through the eyes of, like you're saying, whoever's putting it together,
exactly.
And that's
exactly.
Yeah, it can't
tricky.
all be based on record sales and notoriety and that stuff. I mean, there's a lot of people that
so much
that a lot of people who sold a lot of records owe every single thing to these people that never sold a record.
Right.
Well, I mean,
right.
Big Star, there's a lot of bands. I mean, that you could use as examples for that. But I mean,
sure. I mean, I'm thinking of Texas Terry and
Texas Terry and the Stiff Ones, man. So they were an LA band that you just had to see. One of those bands that if we hadn't seen that band, the BellRays wouldn't have become who the BellRays are.
Texas Terry would have made Wendy Williams blush.
Woo!
Yeah. I mean,
all right.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean,
she's
there's recordings out?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. She put records out.
Texas Terry and the Stiff Ones. But her shows were just like, think of like a female version of Iggy. And she was just doing her thing with her band. And she had some people that she had played with for years that were really, I mean, they became their own thing. And being able to see that and that be a part of like the scene that was really happening in LA, not the one that they created and said was happening when the Strokes came out, which I don't ever remember seeing those guys at any of the stuff that
yeah, and there were lots of bands, Mind Over 4 and these bands that were just
Zingorilla.
They just made a documentary about Bill Bartell.
He's from freaking Riverside.
Yeah, I
he's
mean,
from Moreno
from our thing,
Valley.
but he was in the mix for a ton of stuff. Like
Kiss.
Yeah,
he was in the mix for stuff.
He was, he was just one of those guys that we talked crap about.
Was he a producer guy or was he a?
He was doing bands. He had a band called White Flag.
White Flag.
And he played
that's right.
with everybody, but
he was a scenester before people were even scenesters, and he didn't even live in L.A.
No.
Like, he would drive out to go to those shows to do that stuff. The whole thing about, like, so much in our area is from people that were just so into music and wanted to support music. Coachella exists because of all the kids that lived in Riverside that didn't have a dependable club that they could go to.
Yeah.
So then they said, okay, well, let's do this. And I remember those kids. They hustled the shit out of everything. Like, they would ride their scooters around to promote shows, to do all this crazy stuff. And now they have the biggest festival. No, I mean, it's the biggest, most money-making festival.
It's the most profitable
festival. And we've been to a bunch of festivals.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, it's really the only one you want to go to. And I mean that in a sense of, like, if you're staying overnight or if it's a multiple day thing, there's certain things that you have to account for that I think they've really thought about.
Yeah, man, it's clean and everybody is happy. All the people who work there, they greet you with smiles and they say, have a great show, enjoy yourself.
Enjoy your show.
And everything runs smoothly. It's just beyond the scope of what I ever thought a festival could do logistically.
So going back to the Basement Jacks UK, and you're talking about festivals, the difference between US versus Euro touring.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
Yes, I know that, and that's I'm interested in your thoughts.
It's a huge difference, and I love touring in Europe. I also love touring in America because there's just certain things that I'm only going to experience here. But as far as the affordability of it, it's much more affordable for us to go and play in Europe because they think about the things that I need it's written into the show that my hotel is going to be taken care of, that our meals are going to be taken care of, that, that there's things that we do have to do, but they're also going to pay a higher ticket price for what it is that we do.
Sure.
Right.
And they're going to promote our shows in a way, but we're also going to this is the thing that I never really thought about until very recently. We're the thing that isn't grown there. We're the exotic fruit.
Yes.
So that's probably one of the reasons that it sells as well, and probably the people living there would have the same story to say about when they're coming over to America to do stuff.
It's so unique.
Right.
Like, he had a different accent. It was crazy.
That part right there. So those are the things that make it, it's different. Yeah, it's got these other push and pull to it, but I love both. I like doing a tour like what we're doing right now, and I'm saying it right at the beginning of it. Day two, after a 1,500-mile drive yesterday, which I don't advise to anyone.
We've done it, so you don't.
We've done it.
Yeah,
so
right. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate your service.
But there's still just something about hearing people in America when you hit that down note. Scream the way that they can only scream here. I know what it means. I know what each little thing means, and I appreciate it so much.
Yeah. It's that. I don't even, the most accurate thing I can compare it to that isn't rock and roll is the motocross scream. The what? It's that thing, and
it's only you only hear it at a rock show. It's a very rock show thing that is only in America, and we know what that sounds like. We know what, and each city has their own little version of it, and we've been around enough to know. Y'all still got some rock left in you
juice
that you're trying to hold back on that rock juice.
Yeah,
you better let loose of that.
Speaking of that, how did the MC5 thing come together? There's a lot of rock juice there, right?
There's a lot of rock juice there, but we just happen to luck into the right chance meeting at the right time that Wayne Kramer decided to move to California. Decided to change his life and just say, instead of living in Florida where he was living, he got a new manager, Margaret Sadi, and then moved to California because that was where he was going to try to work. I think that he had already moved there by the time that the hard stuff came out.
Yeah.
It was to go get a deal.
Local
it was to
shows
make
and
it all
stuff.
happen. And all of that stuff happened. And then he started kind of playing with local groups. And we were fortunate enough to fall into his scope.
Gravity, yeah.
Into his gravity. We always just think, man, because
we were this band that when we came out, you know, everybody was just saying, man, it's like the MC5, man. You guys are like the MC5.
I mean, it's
the MC5.
It's there.
Yeah,
but
and
it's a generalization.
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously.
it was the spirit for sure.
It was easier to say when the MC5 weren't doing anything. That your guys
Yeah.
are like this thing
Yeah.
that was not happening.
right. And it was, you know, musically it wasn't so much like them, but the spirit of the independence of it, just that was all there, and that that was more important to me than sounding like them. There were a lot of bands that were trying to glom onto that because back in the 90s, that was the catchphrase. That was the MC5 was, you know, the punk badge of honor,
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
thing. And
With over-processed drums and all this other stuff. It's like, well, how is that
Not gonna
like
happen.
the MC5?
Not going to happen with that sound.
yeah, you know, and so like, you know, you were asking before about the sexism stuff. It was just like they'd go find 5 guys that would, you know, jump around on stage and just bang their guitars and stuff, which was not what the MC5 was doing, you know. To listen to Wayne describe the stuff they were doing it's just some of my favorite stuff ever.
It was thuggish. Like
Yeah.
some of the
Yeah,
stuff that he
yeah.
talked about that they would do, like the band would be playing and doing all this stuff, and then somebody would say, yeah, you guys want to open for Cream? Yeah, man, we'll open for Cream. They are in the back plotting how they're going to kick their ass.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that, not just musically, like physically
they were
kick their
physically beat the
ass.
shit out of 'em, yeah.
I mean, that was the vibe I got from like the little bit. And Please Kill Me, I think, is when they talk about that scene a little bit, and just that they were, you know, not above.
I thought it was creative license. Like when I heard about that stuff, I thought, but then it came out of his mouth.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's like, no, we were that band. We
Yeah.
were ready to fight everybody.
Yeah.
We were ready to outplay everybody. We were ready to just kind of take it to the extreme.
And you know, the thing about the MC5, which was what we were trying to do musically, was if you listen to a lot of those old you know, Motown Review the live reviews that they would tour with
Yeah.
and stuff, if you listen to that stuff, it's like the most punk rock stuff.
Oh, the
you're
rave ups and
ever
everything
gonna
like
hear.
that, just fucking.
And everything, you know, My Girl's like twice as fast
Yep.
as it is on the record, and it, you know, I mean, it's like hard rock and roll stuff. And you know, later on, like that's the comparison I always got to it. It's like, man, you know, it's just rock and soul music, and that's again when talking to Wayne, he was just like, man, we were just trying to be the Temptations. You know,
Yeah.
we didn't have 5 guys who could sing, but you know,
Right.
that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to bring that energy because they had all grown up with it. They
Yeah.
were all in Detroit when
And
that stuff
seeing
was
it,
happening
yeah,
around
oh
the
my
corner.
God,
you know,
yeah. I mean-
you could walk down the street and hear somebody recording, and you
And
know, at the
everybody
Motown studio.
growing up in Detroit had a music education.
Yeah,
That's part of the curriculum. They were all being educated in music. So they all had a point to stand on where we're ready to do this. We're ready to build cars,
Yeah.
but mostly we're ready to do music.
the city
And we
gave
understand
them
it.
tons of money, the school system, to encourage music.
Yeah.
Like it was built in, like Lisa said, it was
Yeah.
like a curriculum. It was built into the thing. So that's why you had all these musicians coming out of there, because they were, you know, they got to play in school, you know, when it's fun, you know, when you get to hang out with your buddies and show riffs and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
I tagging along with that, I feel like people around that time, I don't know when the cutoff is. I don't know if it's punk rock or what.
Sure.
But that learning how to play piano or some shit like that, like whether it's in school or church or whatever.
Yep.
You know, where that was just like you learned it. It doesn't
Yeah.
fucking matter.
Yep.
And so like
There was no whining your way out of
yeah,
anything back
but
then.
you want to, you know, you say you're the Beatles and you hear Lonnie Donegan, you like, you know, you go from that to that, but you've got that music theory, and you're
Yeah.
able to fucking build.
You can just do it.
You know,
Sure.
I mean, it's
You
like-
have the muscle. You have all the tools in there already.
yeah, that's why I mean I feel like an idiot for never having learned how to play piano, but I find that interesting, and that totally makes sense to say, like, Wayne Kramer probably had basic, or not, maybe not
Absolutely.
basic, but I mean, like, keys, probably knew. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, and they were big jazz
They knew
fans
the
too. I mean,
language. They
Yeah.
knew the language.
yeah, exactly. I mean, they knew how to create those songs. That was the energy that they had was what was pouring out of them.
They understood that music is a means to freedom, in in some way or another. It's that anytime you would talk to these sailors or these hobos or whatever, and they would just look at a train and go, "Man, that's freedom." That they look at that ship, that's freedom.
Right.
Well, tons of people just look at it like, "Man, you're in a ship in the middle of the ocean. How's that? How are you free?" It's like, man, I'm going to end up somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm going to go through this and I'm going to end up somewhere else. That's what you do with music. You pick it up and you don't know what's going to come out next. Even if you're meticulously planning on doing something, you make a mistake. It's like, oh, I like that better,
Yep.
and you left turn and you end up someplace else,
Wayne said this really cool thing about power with that. And
Yeah.
he said that, we were playing this gig and it was a dance gig and everybody was just there dancing and
It was at the Grand Ballroom.
at the Grand Ballroom. And he just said they're all dancing to whatever song it was playing. They were playing like some cover. And then they decided, let's play one of our songs. And they played one of their songs. He said that room cleared out so fast. But he said from that he gathered, he said, oh, this is the power. I have the power to clear a room
Right.
with what I'm doing.
There were 1,000 people in here, and now there's 100.
Yeah.
But now those 100 people want to hear us
We
play
know
another song.
We know
right?
those.
And-
We know who our people are.
yeah.
That is a good. I mean,
Most people wouldn't look at it like that.
No.
but you're figuring out your crowd.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you're digging to be the artist that you are, you don't know. You're not going to learn. You could learn some of it by playing covers, but you're really going to learn it by playing what's in your heart.
Sure.
Man, talking about Wayne, I also wanted to just ask, how did the James Williamson thing happen?
That they are not connected whatsoever. They should be, but they're not connected at all. I can't even remember where I was when I got a phone call from, I can't think of his name right now. He was in this
Joe?
really cool
Joe
Cardamom.
Joe Cardamom.
Yeah. And he said, yeah, I'm working with James Williamson right now. And he's decided he wants to try to do the second record that the Stooges were gonna do before, he had to quit and everything kind of went kaput. And I think you should I was telling him, I think you would be great to do I've Got It Right. And I told him, I said, dude, if you had me come down there to sing Happy Birthday, I would
I'm already there.
I would already do it. But I said, are you serious? He said, yeah, they've already got the tracks. They already did all the music tracks for it. So all you got to do is just come in here and, sing to this tune, just do it. So Bob and I went down there and met James, who is
He's the greatest guy on earth.
he is the greatest guy on earth. He is a prince
Yeah.
of all princes, just the kindest, coolest, open-minded guy, and just still a killer musician. He was there in the studio with Joe, and we went to go cut it, the first take, for it. And he was like, "Oh my God, that's it. That's totally it." Bob was in the control room with him. And what did you say, Bob?
I was just sitting there listening to him talk, and they're going back and forth. Yeah, man, I think we got it. And then for some reason he walked down the hall and he
asked
went
him.
into the room where I was, and he said, "What do you think, Bob? That's pretty good, huh?" And I said, "Man, she's just getting started, dude. No, man.
Nobody ever asks Bob.
Have her sing her three or four more times, man." He said, "Are you sure, man? It just sounds 3 or 4 more times. Just have her do it."
So we did it the second take. And the second take was even better than that one.
Yeah.
And it was really good. But then Bob said, "No, man, you gotta.
She's not there yet.
Now this is gonna be it." And that third one is the one.
Oh, wow.
That was the take. But if they hadn't asked Bob, they probably would have said, "Hey, that first one was great."
Yeah.
We would have loved with that. But that's one of the things that I'm the most proud of is that recording of. Because it's like it was
great.
everything was just warm. Everything, I was completely in it, and I had enough room to just stretch out and do everything without actually losing my voice to do it.
So this tour, crazy drive from California to KC. Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
And then you're in little old Dubuque.
Thanks for having us.
First time ever.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
You guys have played Gabe's in Iowa City.
We have played
imagine,
Gabe's.
That
Yes.
was the other place.
Yeah.
Gabe's and all the stairs.
Yep, whole MC. I was talking about it last night. It's like every band has a Gabe's.
Oh, Gabe's.
Oh, man.
And it's got to snow or it's got to rain
Yeah.
when you're going to play Gabe's.
Yeah, an inch of ice on those back stairs, loading the Ampeg 810 cabinet.
And you have to have an 810.
Yeah.
You have
I mean,
to.
you got to be loud. I mean, they're not going to hear you.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Oh, man. And then, so is it just you guys kind of like doing a solo thing out to, is it DC or where do you guys hook up with?
Jersey City.
Jersey City.
Yeah. Jersey City's May 1st is when we hook up with the Damned.
Wow.
Yeah. This is going to be our third tour with those guys.
Holy shit.
We've done 3. We're very fortunate.
My childhood memory of the Damned, because I didn't, I'm a little younger.
Right. It wasn't like they were just out on the radio.
Right.
But they were on The Young Ones.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That episode is so
were.
great. And for some reason, MTV got the rights to show that, like, sort
While
of
it was still going.
almost, yeah, kind of
Yeah.
like right around the same time.
Yeah.
And so I just, yeah. So the Damned that you got on that Young Ones is almost like that weird vampire, like interview with a vampire kind of fucking vibe. Is you know, definitely not the neat. The earlier stuff kind of thing. So I was like real unsure about them, and then obviously I go back and I listen to the early records. I'm like, holy fuck!
Right. And if you go to see, I don't know if you've been able to go see them live. I would always recommend, if you get an opportunity to do that, to definitely do that, because you still don't know how, like, oh my God, this band is insane. They play MC5 tunes.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And they're, I was never a big fan when they were putting out records and stuff. It was just for some reason I just never caught them. And then we did that first tour, and I just remember the first night watching them play and just thinking,
Mesmerizing.
This is the greatest band I've
Ever,
ever
right?
seen
I mean,
live. I mean, this is
Mesmerizing.
like I'm watching one of the best shows I've ever seen. Sensible is, man, he's a great guitar player, and there's just all this energy coming off stage, and I'm a huge fan now. Huge.
Do they do that Horror Taxi song? Is that what it's called?
I'm not sure if they do.
But they might.
I know they did it.
Okay,
I don't even know what the
things have
song's called. I
changed.
just, man, it's.
So the times that we did it before, it was a different lineup, and now they've got Rat Scabies back in the band. So it could be it might be different stuff that they're doing.
I'm not sure.
Like just the early stuff, or like maybe even the 80s stuff or something like that. Okay.
Right. Because sometimes when these bands reform in that way, they concentrate on certain records. So I don't know.
The first couple of tours we did, I don't think they had a new record out, or anything. So they were playing a lot of the anything anybody knew.
Yeah.
So all the early stuff and then Strawberries and all the other stuff. So I think they put together a varied set.
But I'm not worried. I'm sure
it's gonna kick ass.
Yeah,
of course.
yeah.
It's gonna slay.
How about you guys? You guys new record?
We have a new record called Heavy Steady Go. The only thing I can tell you is you got to get that record.
All right.
And I don't mean it like, I need to sell records. I mean it like people need that record in their life.
Yes.
It is that kind of a thing where we work so hard to make it that I didn't realize, we made a classic. This shit is, just because you don't know us don't mean we couldn't have made a classic.
No,
So
I'm with you.
it's really good.
I feel it.
It's really, 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 really good.
And any other tours beyond the Damned?
We're going to Europe.
End of June or in middle?
Yeah, somewhere around there. It's all once you get on the road in the van, everything becomes a blur that's supposed to happen in your life after.
I think it's three weeks.
I think it's 3 weeks in Europe, and then we just got a thing that we're going to be doing the UK in the fall. So
Any of those with Slim Cessna?
no, we were
I was
that whole thing. We're still.
I was
It's still on a back burner.
So much stuff was supposed to happen during, right when the pandemic decided to pandemic us. And then there were like Slim's father broke his back, I want to say.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
So once that happened, I think he became the number one
primary
caregiver. So he's been very
hands
you know,
off. Like,
I got to this is what I got to do.
Refocus,
This is what
yeah.
I have to do, which I understand.
Absolutely.
I totally understand that. But yeah, we've been asked about that tour a lot, and it was always put on the reschedule,
Yeah.
and then it was like
It was up
there's no
3
way.
times.
It was
I
up
think.
3
Yeah.
times.
I feel like
each time it fell through.
I would love to see that in the States. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like in
Europe
UK,
it would be
just crush,
yeah,
right?
people
That would
would
just
love
be
that.
fucking insane.
People would really love that.
They would
Yeah.
go insane for it.
Well, I really appreciate you guys coming to talk to me, and
sure.
appreciate you guys
man,
coming to play
this was great.
the show.
This was great.
And I don't know. I hope to see some folks out to the show tonight. And
Get your ass out to the show.
that's right.
And then if you're listening to this after the show, beat yourself up for missing that show.
Get the new record from the BellRays.
Get the new record. Get
All
the
right.
new record.
Cool. Thanks, guys.